now calling this meeting to order. In just a moment, we're going to stand for our invocation like we always do and pledge of allegiance. But before we do that, we're going to have a moment of silence. And I want to just say a few words. Most of you know by now that Mr. Joe Cates, the second mayor of Southaven, passed away Monday morning. And his funeral is going to be Friday. You may have noticed the flags are at half staff. They will be all week in his honor. But Mayor Cates was significant to our city. Obviously, he was mayor. He was a great friend to many people in our community. He was a great leader. He led our city during a very pivotal time from 1985 to 1997 in Southaven's early heavy growth years. Our population more than doubled during his tenure as mayor. I was a teenager in 1985 when Mr. Cates became mayor, and never imagined then, as I didn't have plans of doing this, but I never imagined that one day I would be involved in the work that he started. So it's special to me to honor Mayor Cates, because I realized the sleepless nights, I realized the tough decisions that he had to advocate for, and I also realized that the things that Mayor Cates did back in those times, we're still reaping the benefits and the dividends from that, because a lot of times with public service, the decisions that this board makes and that mayors advocate for with their board, it takes years before you realize the true benefits of those decisions. And Mayor Cates made many great decisions. He loved Southaven. He was a great mayor and a great leader for our city. And we've, again, reaped many dividends because of his efforts. But I did get a chance to meet him. I first met him in 2013 when I ran for mayor the first time. He shared some wisdom with me then. I got a special few minutes with him last year at the Springfest breakfast at Dale's restaurant. He and I got to sit together for a few minutes and talk. And I always try to, when I find someone that is wiser than me or more experienced, I try to pick their brain a little bit and kind of seek their wisdom. And he told me many things, but one of the things he shared with me, and this sounds very basic, but I know we have a lot of young people in the audience today. But if you'll think about this for a second, it's not as basic as it sounds, but he said, always remember to ask people for their support. A lot of times we get to moving so fast, we just assume, that people are understanding what we're talking about and what we're advocating for. And sometimes we forget to literally stop and say those words, hey, would you please support me on this? But that was one of the things that Mr. Cates told me, and it stuck with me, and I'm going to continue to apply that to my role, to my job as mayor. But I want to share that with y'all. Remember, don't be afraid to ask people, whether it's in decisions for the city or decisions with your church or your job or your family. Don't be afraid to simply stop and say, would you support me on this, and ask for their support. But anyway, we're going to miss Mayor Cates, and he's going to be missed by many in our city. So for that, we wanted to have a few minutes just to talk about that, and now I'll quit talking and let's have a moment of silence, and then we'll be led in prayer by Alderman Gallagher. Please stand with us.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we just come before you, Lord, and we just thank you for this evening. Lord, we thank you for Joe Cates and all that he's meant to the city, Lord. I pray for peace that passes understanding for the family, Lord, that they'll be comforted by your Holy Spirit. And Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for all the good leadership that's occurred in our city over the course of the years. And Lord, I pray that everything that we do up here would not be out of selfish ambition or pride, Lord, but everything that we would do would revolve around you. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda this evening is approval of minutes for the special meeting that took place on October 4, 2018.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the minutes for the special meeting of October 4th, 2018 with any additions, deletions, or corrections. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks,
Yes.
Alderman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Payne,
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher,
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Okay, next on our agenda, we're going to swear in the Mayor's Youth Council, our new members tonight, and then I'm going to call your name. Christy, you did give, where are the names? Okay, I got it, okay, I see. So if you will, just allow me to, I want to march up one at a time. How about that? Coming out of the tunnel, one at a time. How about that? One at a time. All right, from Southaven High School, Mackenzie McBride. Matthew Gardner. Aiden Chisholmore. Rebecca Luther. And I don't know how to pronounce, is it Zeta or Zada Davis? Forgive me. Which is how it tastes?
Zeta.
Zeta, okay, I'm sorry. Ella Lammy. And this is DeSoto Central. Gavin Lagazino. And Xenia Owens. Okay. So we're going to just do it as a group, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Raise your right hand and you insert your name. We'll do it all together. But I'll start us off and just insert your name. I. Okay. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States
that I will faithfully support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
and the Constitution of the State of Mississippi,
and obey the laws thereof,
and obey the laws thereof,
that I am not disqualified
that I am not disqualified
from holding the office of Mayor's Youth Council,
from holding the office of Mayor's Youth Council,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
Got you. So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you for helping us. Okay, next on our agenda is a resolution for budget amendment. Mr. Chris Wilson.
Mayor Board, this is simply moving the balance forward at the end of FY18 to these two lines for previously approved projects. These funds were committed at the end of FY18, so it has no effect on our end-of-year FY18 fund balance.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks,
Yes.
Alderman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Payne,
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher,
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is a recommendation of bid award for Public Works. This was just added with a revised budget today as we got new information. And this bid is for the patch truck, dump truck. That was Nick Manley. We did get a better price. We went back.
Yeah, as you recall, that we previously rejected both bids, or the bids that came in, and since that time, we did the reverse auction for the bid, and for the asphalt patch truck, the company that was the lowest bid is Tag Truck Center, in the amount of $160,000, $160,498. So need a motion tonight to authorize the purchase and sign all documents associated with that purchase.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? I will tell everyone that I did have a discussion with Bradley today. Evidently, the company that does these vehicles actually manufactures it after they get the order. So it is going to be a few months before we get it. He estimated it could be as long as February, March before the truck is actually in service. But we need to go ahead and start that process. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is municipal compliance certification.
Mayor, we had one more. We just did the asphalt, we did the dump truck.
Okay, I'm sorry, let's back up.
That's fine. The next one was the dump truck bid. It was also Tag Truck Center, and that also previously rejected. Went to bid again, and the Tag Truck Center is the low bid in the amount of $98,500. Authorized purchase and signing and executing all documents associated with the purchase.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is municipal compliance certification.
This is what kicks off our audit every year. As you know, the board has to adopt this, enter into our minutes, and this is what will begin the official FY18 audit process. It's just the city making certain commitments and assertions regarding everything from purchases to inventory, fixed assets, to everything. It's a state format, format.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is a contract with PBJ Happy Day Shows Incorporated.
This is the contract for Spring Fest, agreement with PBJ Happy Day Shows Inc. The city receives 35% of the gross receipts, $75 per game vendor, $400 per game vendor. PBJ will indemnify the city, also provide us with our additional insurance certificate, will be additional insured, and we have the right to control the premises. Same variation or same agreement we did last year with a couple of variations in our favor, but might authorize the mayor to sign. PBJ has agreed to it as well.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the agreement between the city and PBJ Happy Days Shows and allow you to sign.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for liens.
Yeah, this is just those, for liens that have yards or land that's been cut pursuant to 21-1911 in the city code, authorized lien to be filed on those properties, which will be turned to assessments next year. But tonight, we need authorization for the liens in the event of a purchase or between now and next year. So they'll have notice from the Chancery Clerk or from the Circuit Clerk on their title search.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the resolution of the Mayor Board on the City of Southaven adjudicating the cost of cleaning the property, imposing a penalty, and imposing lien of same against property as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion among the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that has a financial interest in any of the properties that would like to speak? Hearing and seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is the R.J. Young copy contract for our Parks Department.
Yeah, this is the same contract that we've been doing for various departments across the city. This obviously provides the Parks Department with their contract for their copier. So denying the authorization for Chris Shelton to sign this contract, and it mirrors the one we did for dispatch in the West Precinct at the previous board meeting with those changes already implemented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is City Ordinances, Title 8, Chapter 6, Sections 8 through 136 and 8 through 140.
This is the ordinances that prohibited solicitation of the streets, which is, in tonight, we're reviewing these ordinances. These ordinances can be handled through the state statutes, specifically 97-3523, 97-3525, and 63-3-1105. It'll still prohibit any obstructions or interference in the city streets. So tonight, recommend repeal these ordinances and allow for the police department to enforce it via the state statutes. If we have any issues with the state statutes, we can always come back and re-implement the ordinance again. But tonight, authorization to repeal the ordinances and allow for the state statutes to control the solicitation of the streets as opposed to interference in the streets, and give us broader powers for interference and obstruction in the streets.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion?
So what are they for again?
The ordinances that are being repealed were you couldn't do solicitation in the streets. It basically only allowed for solicitation. So, i.e., you're trying to ask for money in the streets.
Can't do it.
Can't do it. But that's being repealed because you could cover that through obstruction or interference in the streets of the state statutes. So the state statutes, we feel, would still control and not allow for that based off the interference or interference obstruction that would cause in the street or right of way.
And this just has to do with solicitation, right?
The ordinance there only dealt with solicitation. It really didn't do with interference in the street, obstruction in the street. It was just for solicitation. The state statutes allow to be for interference or obstruction in the streets.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
So the state statute is more broad.
State statute just, if not, it's just as broad, if not more broad, as far as the power of allowing it to do any obstruction or interference in the street, and allows us to enforce the same premise that we were trying to enforce with this statute. In the event we see that it's not tailored to what we need it to be, we can always come back and re-implement a new ordinance, which would deal with the solicitation, or not solicitation, but everything as far as obstruction or interference in the streets as well. So.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for sanitation assessments.
This is the resolution for assessments, either via lien or via car tags for those individuals who haven't paid the sanitation assessment of $12 per month. As you can see, it's dwindling down more and more, but need authorization from the board to do that.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for intergovernmental transfer of property to the city of Hernando.
This is intergovernmental transfer to Hernando. It's for a bridge that the city no longer needs or uses. I think it's actually in Central Park, if I'm correct. It's being stored there. It's not of use to the city. whatsoever. So tonight, and it costs us more to store and maintain. I think Hernando needs bridge for their park, so tonight we were seeking authorization for the resolution transferring it and surplusing it so we could transfer it to Hernando in exchange for Hernando removing it and paying all the costs associated with it. Also, there is an agreement associated with it that requires Hernando to take it and all responsibility, and so he has no responsibility with the bridge once Hernando takes it. So authorization tonight for the resolution to surplus along with transfer, and allow the mayor to sign the agreement for the transfer. Hernando is also considering it tonight as well. Their attorney had no other comments in the agreement. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution, Mayor Board of Aldermen, the City of Southaven declaring surplus property and allowing for you to sign.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion?
I do. Whitney, this was your bridge.
I don't want to talk about it.
This was a pet project of Whitney's many years ago. I know she had great expectations.
I like bridges.
When we did in the last 5 years, I was aware of the bridge. I went and looked at the bridge to see if there was something we could do with it. And I guess the plan at one time was to use it as over a public street.
Have an entry point, correct.
Yeah. And, but we've never really found an area that it fit well. It's actually, it needs something done to it. It's sitting in the woods, growth, all around it is resting, so it's good that somebody can actually make use of it. Hernando, from what I understand, is not gonna put it over a public street. It's gonna be a walk, a pedestrian bridge and a park, so they're excited about it. So, Whitney gave up on her dream, right?
It's crushed. I'm okay. I'm moving on.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is an agreement with the Athletic House.
This is formerly Smith Brumley to lease the property that they've been leasing for years in the Parks Building pursuant to 5771 Mississippi Code. Same lease, we've changed a little bit of the terms as far as controls for us, and obviously they provide their insurance certificate already. We're an additional insurer. They will indemnify. The rent is still staggered as far as the seasons go, but we still get the rent based off of the appraisal from a couple of years ago. So tonight, authorization for the mayor to sign the lease with Athletic House as presented.
Mr. Mayor, I move we enter into a lease agreement between the Athletic House and the City of Southaven and allow you to sign.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution to claim private property.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution granting authority to claim private property as presented on the state.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion among the board? Hearing none, is there anyone in the audience that has a financial interest in any of the properties that would like to speak? Hearing or seeing no one, roll call please.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on our agenda is our planning agenda. Ms. Whitney Cook.
Yes, so the first application we've got is an application for the first phase of the Gardens of Bell Point Subdivision. This is going to be on the north side of Church Road between the existing Bell Point Subdivision and Snowden Farms. We recently rezoned it to a PUD, which had different size lots, different size houses, a 55 and up element in it. This first phase are the lots ranging in size from 9,100 square feet to 20,000 square feet. They do have a 2,000 square foot heated minimum on them. It is compliant with the PUD. It does have some open space involved with it, which I know we're always worried about, but there is an HOA set in plan. The developer will take that on until he hands it over. It is compliant with all the bulk regulations set forth in the ordinance, and Planning Commission voted unanimously in favor of it.
Is there a motion to approve item 1?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve item number 1 on the planning agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion on item 1? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
Item number 2 is a request for Central Park Section P. This is going to be on the west side of Tullahoma, south of State Line. This portion is actually directly accessed off of Brasco Road from the Tullahoma side. It's 12.37 acres, submitted with 69 lots. There are no open spaces, but it is adjacent to the city park. So there's a section between lots 933 and 934, which opens up into the city park. Central Park was obviously approved in the late 90s as a PUD. This is compliant with the overall PUD that was approved then. There's no, like I said, there's no common open space, so there's no HOA maintenance. There's no HOA there, period. But there's nothing to be maintained in this section. It is compliant with the heated square footages and the minimums required for that PUD, so it was recommended for approval and voted unanimously in favor of.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve item number 2 on the planning agenda as presented on the stage.
Second.
Okay, on item 2, we have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
Item number 3, again, is Central Park Section O. This is going to be in the same vicinity, but this will actually be accessed off of Central Ridge Drive off of Tullahoma, which is north of the main drive to Central Park. 9.6 acres with 35 lots. It is compliant with everything that was approved in the original PUD. There is 1.45 acres shown at the very end of the cove, which is kind of blown up at the bottom of the mylar you see up there. That is being shown as city preservation area. It was a little confusing to us, but apparently it's a portion of open space that was agreed upon at the original approval to leave as a natural preservation area. I don't believe there to be any maintenance on it, but I have notified the Parks Office because it will actually become a city park, and it's an extension of what we already have over there. It was our suggestion that before we accept that, maybe we go and take a look at it. There was a previous situation around Central Park where there's a lot of tires and junk that was in an area that we had to go and clean up after the fact. So before we take this preservation area with this, I think the best thing we could do is recommend approval with the contingency that we get out there, investigate the property first, make sure there's nothing that we're gonna have to be responsible for and clean up, and have that done before we agree to take it on. Planning Commission agreed with that and we voted unanimously in favor.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve item number 3 on the planning agenda as presented on the stage.
Second.
Okay, on item 3, we have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Brooks. I'll start the discussion. If you will clarify for me the preservation area, the vote tonight is not giving that land to the city. The city wants to know, we don't want the land unless we know a valid purpose for what those land's gonna be used
Well,
for. We don't wanna buy maintenance issues.
I agree, and I was a little confused by it myself. Like I said, this was approved back in the late 90s, and there was I guess a greenbelt facility or a system through Central Park that was designated and approved with the PUD to be city preservation or city park area. We have several portions of it already, and I think it's got, I'm not sure the acreage of it, but it's connected to like 5 or 6 different sections. This is another section of that. The best I can tell by looking at it historically and through the documentation is it's unusable area. It may have a creek in it, it may be floodway, floodplain, something that cannot be used by the development, and it was agreed upon with the previous administration to take it as city preservation or city park area. You can do, with city parks, you can actually grade them down and do work on it. If it's a preservation area, it's usually because it's an area you cannot develop. And like I stated before, I found some condemnation issues, some code enforcement issues with another portion of this in another section where it was just full of old tires, and some of the board members that were in the previous administration will remember that. It was a huge cleanup. So we ended up incurring that cost. As it sits right there, it's 1.5 acres of just natural ditch and trees.
But what I'm asking though is, if this is approved tonight, does that become city property?
Yes, if we plat that, it would. Now, we've essentially agreed to it in the PUD, because the text says they will deed it over to us per section, and we've done it with every other section since then. But we do not accept taking it until we record that plat. So if we decide we don't want it, it's a big enough problem with what we already got, and we ask them to exclude it, then it's not recorded as city property.
Yeah, it would be my recommendation to the board that we not take the property until a clear plan has been given. And the reason, I just don't want to give the taxpayers a bigger burden on
No, I agree.
maintaining more land. The maintenance of our properties, is a major undertaking. We spend a lot of money and effort to keep our park properties and all our public right-of-ways in good condition. And we don't want to own useless land that we're not going to have a purpose for. So,
No, I agree, and I know the Parks Director had some concerns about it too. He's had to take on some of the maintenance of it when it's not really a viable park area, so there was concerns on that part too.
And again, would there be an HOA if it's not given, if the city doesn't take it? Is there an HOA involved with this?
There is not an HOA with Central Park.
So what happens if the city doesn't take it? It just grows and becomes a home of?
I mean, unfortunately, it's still, if we refuse to take it and they don't incorporate it into an HOA maintained area, then it stays the remaining lot.
We have a gentleman in the stands. If someone could answer those questions, we appreciate that. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, this is Mr. Smith.
How you doing, sir?
Mr. Mayor, Board Ben Smith.
Yes, sir.
I was there in the 90s, when, as a matter of fact, I presented this PUD to the city at that time, and when this was presented, it's the same time that Reeves and Williams donated what we call Central Park. And part of that agreement with donating that Central Park property to the city, that they would also take these preservation areas. So you might want to check back in your minutes. But the agreement was that they took Central Park, plus they took this preservation areas. It was all done at one time.
Okay.
Can we
Well,
take it?
And we've done, the city's already, I think this might be the third or fourth one that the city's already taken. And,
When was the last one taken?
it was taken when, M1, which is the subdivision, probably, a year ago.
Is there preservation area in that one?
M1, A had preservation areas. I think that's right.
Well, and
But
just.
anyway, it was part of the agreement when the Reeves Williams donated, up to 100-something acres of Central Park. This preservation area was part of the agreement.
Well, certainly Central Park has been a great addition for the city, and, that was a good move, but I mean, we would want to, I'm not familiar with that, and I mean, and I understand that, I'm not discounting what happened in the past before us, but I'm sure you can understand we'd like to be updated on that as well, because I'm the one that sees the everyday challenges of some decisions that were made 15, 20 years ago before me, but I'm the one that's actually administering how we maintain these properties, how we allocate money to take care of that. So I would like to know more. I mean, not to hold up, I don't want to hold up what's here tonight. I just don't want, I don't want the city to take ownership of this until we have other information to present to the board. So can we approve it without that, or does it all go together?
No, I mean, we can approve, I mean, the main thing is getting the lots recorded. We can approve the lot section, and if we haven't made a determination that the board feels comfortable with, we can omit the preservation area and then just amend or revise this section after we decide if we're gonna take it or not.
Okay.
So we can do
And the board, it's
Okay.
the board's
Yeah,
call,
that's
that would be
fine.
my
Approve the
recommendation.
lots and we'll
Right.
work out the
Okay,
preservation area.
that'd be good.
I'll bring an update to the board next
Yeah, no,
board
I
meeting.
agree. I agree.
Okay, so is there a motion or is there any other discussion? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
Make
take
sure that our
time.
motion is only to approve the lots.
To record the lots.
Yes,
Is that the way?
What we're gonna do is request to omit the city preservation area designated on this and just record the lots themselves without the city preservation area. If we decide we take it, we'll come back in front of the board. I'll give an update in the next meeting, and we'll decide to either revise it, which plats have that all the time, or we just leave it as is if we decide not to take it.
So we need to amend the motion.
Amend your motion to be, make a motion to amend, to approve the lots for the plat recording and to hold off or to, at this juncture, not approve the preservation area pending further update from planning director. Is that okay with you?
You make that motion, Alderman Kelly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Second.
And we got a motion as such from Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
So do we need to vote on the amended motion now?
Is that minute?
On excluding the
No,
preservation?
we just changed the motion. He amended the motion and we voted on that amendment. Now we have a motion in front of us with an amended.
You vote on the amended motion now.
Right.
You voted to approve his amendment, now you vote to approve the actual motion.
Right.
The actual item.
Yes.
So item number, whatever it is, 3, 4.
Thank you.
What is
Three?
Whatever.
It's the, no, you vote on the new number 3.
Vote on Alderman Kelly's amended motion. now.
Right.
Is that not what we just did?
You voted to amend the motion,
Now we gotta vote on the motion.
now you vote on the motion.
Okay, don't want to be here a while then. All right.
No, we don't. Move to approve the amended item number 3.
Second.
Got a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
Okay. Item number 4, we have an application requesting to revise existing lot 40 of the Southaven First Commercial Subdivision, Section C. This is going to be on the west side of Highway 51, south of First Commercial Drive. What they did, they submitted the plat amending lot 40, but there was already a lot 40A, 40B, 40C, 40D, and then just a random lot 40. It was confusing. It was a portion that was separated out from the rest of this. So what we actually asked him to do, it was compliant with what he requested, but we're asking him to take it out of Southaven First Commercial Section C, Lot 40 revision, whatever it's on, and just create a new subdivision with it. That way it's got its own individual lots, 2 coves as you see here. It comes off, directs access from First Commercial Drive, and it just cleans up the plat. The applicant was acceptable to that, and with those changes, the Planning Commission voted unanimously in favor of it.
I'll make the motion to approve item number 4 on the planning agenda.
Second.
On item 4, we have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion?
It's just clean up.
It was a large piece of property that they wanted to further subdivide, and it was just getting convoluted with all the different A, B, C, Ds, so we just said, pull it out and start your own subdivision here, because it just cleans up the plat, and it keeps us from doing revision 12, revision 13. It was just cleaner, but I mean, everything submitted with it was fine. We just felt this was an easier way to go.
Is there any other discussion on 4? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
Item 5 is a subdivision application for the northeast corner of Getwell Road and Nail Road. It's approximately 2.8 acres, and they are splitting it in half, 1.4 acres on the hard corner, 1.4 acres to the north of this. This will actually be adjacent to the Snowden House and the amphitheater property. It's the vacant property you have sitting there. We have no submittal yet, but you can probably guess by the name of the subdivision what it's going to be on the hard corner. They have shown some setbacks we have to clean up. They're not showing an ingress egress on it, and there's no public utilities on there. If they did the setback cleanup, then we had no other issues, and Planning Commission voted unanimously in favor of it.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve item number 5 on the planning agenda as presented. Second.
Okay, on item 5, we have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. And again, just a quick question for me. So what is the general purpose of splitting it? Is there a certain occupancy that's needed for that, or what's the purpose of splitting it?
Well, as you can see, the subdivision would be called Guarantee Bank subdivision, and Guarantee Bank would like to locate on the hard corner. They don't obviously need all 2.8 acres, so they want to sell off the property to the north. From what I'm understanding, they're trying to find a restaurant tenant, but all they needed was the 1.4 acres to the south.
So the purpose mainly is just to house their primary operation.
Correct.
Then the land that they don't need to make it marketable for another purpose.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries on file.
And the last one we've got is a design review approval for the Coleman Funeral Home, which is going to be inside the DeSoto Memorial Gardens Cemetery on Star Landing Road on the north side, right there at Sweeney. What you're gonna see here is their proposed design for it. It's approximately 8,000 square feet. It's located on 3.08 acres in agricultural zone. There is a construction trailer there. The access points are already there right now. It does conform with the residential guidelines of what's surrounding it. It has the 612 pitch roof, the architectural shingles. It's got cedar accent. It's solid brick, very attractive building. We had a couple of amendments to their landscape design and the photometric design for their lighting outside, and they complied with all of that. So once those are submitted to us, we were fine, and the Planning Commission voted unanimously to approve it with those comments.
This is number 7.
I don't know, 6, 7,
Okay.
I think I only have 6. This is the last one, yes.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item number 6 as presented.
Is that just south of Central Point?
It is going, no, it's gonna be south of Shadow Point, it's going to be just west of it. And it's been approved for some time.
No, I was just trying to picture my mind.
All right, yes.
It's across the street from the Methodist Church, the new Methodist Church.
Right.
Okay, so on 6, we have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any other discussion? Do we have timetables on construction?
Once you pull your permit, you have a 2-year stint for your permit, but that's once you,
I know that, I'm just saying, like, is this something that, because our city is in great need of another funeral home.
he's already got the existing funeral home. He bought out the Chisholm property at their Church and Airways. So he's bought that for a temporary stay till he gets this one built. Everything that he's come at us with has been very quick. He just finished the one in Olive Branch. He's got one down in Oxford. We're next in line, so he's had a very quick build out.
Okay. And that's a beautiful piece of property, by the way.
And it's a beautiful building too. I mean, it couldn't accent better.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is our mayor's report. Got a few things I want to update with some more information tonight. First of all, we're all aware of the Police West Precinct. It was, changing the building on Highway 51 near Dorchester, making it another police station. Those renovations were all done. We've started moving, a few weeks ago, started moving some of the departments over, or some of the divisions over there. But just letting you know that on October 26th, that it will be in full use. So it'll be fully occupied for its permanent purpose there. We think that's going to be huge for our city, having a better police presence on Highway 51, and we're excited about that move. On the same day, coincidentally, I-269, the last leg of 269 that will connect Interstate 40 and Interstate 55 will be complete. There'll be a ceremony at 10 o'clock in the morning by MDOT, and I understand that as soon as that ceremony is over, in the early afternoon, that the interstate will be open. So on the afternoon of afternoon of October 26th, I-269 will be functionable all the way from 55 to 40, so it will be ready for use. It's going to be a game changer for not only Southaven, but all of DeSoto County. It's going to be big for Marshall County, and also, going back towards the Delta, it's going to be a big deal. So we're excited about that. Couple of things, if we can move my screen, Michael, if you can help me. The last meeting we had, I updated you on 2 proposed projects that we've been talking about. One of them we've been talking about a long time was about City Hall renovation. Just a quick recap, our plan has been to not borrow money for this, but to use money that we've saved over the years by being financially prudent, and also by the proceeds from city real estate that we don't have a purpose for anymore. We're going to sell that real estate and use that money, for the City Hall renovations. If you don't understand the need for this, just come back when the sun's out and look at the outside of the building, and I don't need to say anything else, you'll understand. But this building does not represent the city of Southaven. It does not represent who we are. We are one of the most progressive cities in the southeast. We're the third largest city in the state. All the people sitting up here that are representing the citizens of Southaven have pride in our city, and we need to do something about this building. We've been talking about it for 5 years. It's time to do something about it. My update is both with positive news and negative news. As I mentioned to you, let's go back. Can we go back to the first picture? This was designed 2 years ago by Urban Art, and you can see it has an elaborate design. The front of it is enclosing the lobby, also making it a 2-story grand entrance to the building. It also has metal cladding on the outside, the gray. You can see the wood grain added, and also lots of brickwork around there. This is costly. This was a $4.3 million project to do the exterior, replace the roof, also do first floor renovation. Renovate this boardroom, knock out the front wall at the reception area to open it up, so when people come to City Hall, they have more room to come in, which is more characteristic of a professional building in 2018. Again, looking and working with Urban Art, we've talked about breaking this project down into phases, and in doing that, still on a day-to-day basis, taking new recommendations from Urban Art on what can be done without duplicating expense. If we can't do it all at one time, my main concern was not to duplicate. Like, I don't want to spend money on something, that 2 years later we're going to have to tear up and redo. So we've been very conscious of that. So with all that being said, I'm taking the advice of the architects on maybe how we piece all this together. The latest, or the initial information that I reported to you 2 weeks ago was that we would at least start by replacing the roof, because the roof is leaking, by knocking out the front porch canopy that's rotting, making some ADA improvements that are necessary, and then doing a little bit with this boardroom, like trying to bring it at least into the 90s. So we've been working on that, but after talking with architects, they believe that it would be more financially smart to do some of these projects a bigger group together. So the bad news is that they're not recommending $750. They're recommending that we spend about $1.7 with the initial phase. The good news is that changing the design from the picture you first saw to this one eliminates a lot of cost. And when they brought that back to me, basically what I told them is, you got to help me out. We got to do something different. We got to cut some costs somewhere, but also not sacrifice the professionalism of the building and the appearance. And so this was brought, since our last meeting, this was brought to me. And if you'll look, obviously that's dramatically different from what it looks like now. But if you'll notice, it's saving a large amount of money, because you're not adding brickwork, you're not putting exterior metal cladding, no wood grain. A lot of the things that were on that initial design are removed. All that's different about this picture and what you looked at when you walked in the building tonight is the roof is being replaced with a parapet on top to hide your HVAC equipment and other undesirable things that are on the roof that have to be there. Also by painting, and basically all you're doing, and you're eliminating the jailhouse look. Like, if you look at the building now, it kind of looks like a jailhouse. Like, you got all the windows broken up. It was built in 1969. So you're taking paint and painting the white between the faux windows. You're painting it gray, but you can see it gives it more of a modern look, and it eliminates the jailhouse look. So basically all that is with paint, replacing the roof, and then if you see the canopy, that's leaving the canopy on, but leaving it a 1-story canopy. So we'd be sacrificing the grand look of having a 2-story entrance, but it would be functional. It would be very efficient from a functionality standpoint. So instead of the drive-through there, we're going to bring heat and air and lighting, glass, and we're going to make that where you drive through in the canopy now. This design would make that a lobby, and then we would knock the walls down where the 1969 stone is on the front of the building. We would remove all that and just knock the walls down, remove the closet from when you walk in the boardroom, so it opens that whole front up. So I love this design better because I think it's more efficient. It would also be replacing the bathrooms on the first floor. So when the most people that come into the building are seeing a more modern look and they're having a nicer place to call their city hall. But it also would include, obviously, the boardroom here. It would include changing the walls, floor coverings, putting permanent seating, like a pew type seating out front, maybe restaining the old wood that's up here, and then changing the ceiling out, giving it a more modern look. But this is what Urban Art recommends. So again, I told you the bad news, they recommend spending more money with phase one. The good news is if we shift gears and go with this plan, we shave a lot of money off, and basically for about 1.7 million, we're done with all the major things, except for things that need to be done gradually. Like there's electrical panels, some wiring that needs to be redone. We have some miscellaneous things throughout the building, that someone coming into the building is not going to see. But we can absorb that and put that into our yearly facilities budget and probably take care of the rest of those things gradually. But anyway, I like the plan. I like it better doing that. The negative, again, is it's going to require more money up front, but I think it goes a long way into improving our image, giving our citizens a place that they can be proud of. And so that's the update tonight. If we can flip to the next, Michael, to the next one. This is actually the same design. The only thing that's different about it is not using the front porch canopy as a lobby, by totally wiping that out and then just having an awning there. But you can see it makes the building more modern, and it makes it safer too by restricting drivers that drive right to the front door. Obviously, we would still be ADA compliant, and we could adjust parking, to accommodate. And then you see the other additions are, the planters out front with the landscaping in it. They also serve as a safety feature, where someone can't drive, a vehicle up to the building for safety. So, but anyway, these are the two proposals. And again, this is money without the real estate selling. This would be money that I would suggest come out of unassigned fund balance surplus. And I would suggest that we move on this. But anyway, before I go to the next topic, I'd like to open the floor among the board for discussion about any details from Urban Art or anything else.
There's obviously a difference with the work you say going on this rendering here. What's the cost savings there?
He didn't break it down, the cost savings on this one. The number I'm giving you, 1.7, is with the other design. But I can get those numbers. Basically, you're eliminating heat and air. You're eliminating the obviously glass, flooring, wall covering.
The repairs to the canopy already.
Yeah, the bad news about it is you're not removing all costs, because either way you got to tear it out. So when you tear it out, you're already going to be taking some significant costs there. The breakdown was 180, I think, for the. It's 180 is what he quoted for, or broke it down for renovating the canopy area. And I think that it was going to be like 75, so probably roughly $100,000 difference. But the thing I like about it is it gives you more, like that's one of the strange things about our building now. When the public come in out of the weather, they're standing at a front desk counter, that small area. This opens it up. People come into the boardrooms. If we ever have to, use it as an election precinct, you got people that can come in, get out of the weather. They can wait there while they're, doing their city business there. Ultimately, the plan is to move the city clerk's office up to where the old Chamber of Commerce used to be, and that makes it easier for people visiting too, because they're going to come right in. The clerk's office is right there.
Will there be other security doors where the main doors are right now?
The goal, doing it this way, we've already started shifting some departments on the first floor to make the building safer. What we would do now is make all public access through the main entrance. So you wouldn't have, we're already shifting to where the utilities, like paying your water bill, instead of coming in the north entrance, that's gonna be on the main hallway. So now you would come in the main entrance to pay your water bill, and then building permits and everything else. So we can make it to where the only public entrance is there at the west side of the building. And then there'll just be a key code for employees on the northern entrance.
How are we going to shield the sun in the afternoon, especially in the summer? That's a lot of glass. So.
It is a lot of glass. I've actually already talked to Brian about, y'all know that one of my goals with this was to create a tribute hall.
Right.
We talked about that. And obviously if all the windows are glass, you don't have a place to, to do that. So my suggestion to Brian Bullard with Urban Arc was the south wall, which would be right here, to sheetrock that, make that a wall. That way you could use that for a tribute hall. Then also you could use, after the first floor is renovated, you could actually use the first floor as like a tribute hall. Like if we wanted to honor somebody that made a large contribution to the city of Southaven, we have a bronze bust that's put on the wall and put their tenure and their contributions, and we could do that starting in the front there and actually continue that throughout the main hallway. Sure. And that way it'd be more cost effective than trying to build, the initial two-story, tribute hall in the front. But to answer your question about the sun, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, the building does face west. Obviously, that's a problem. I do know that there is a type of glass now that's commonly used on storefronts that like that.
It's like the transition lenses.
Right. You don't notice it being different, but it's a shield. So on the inside, it's giving you more of a shaded look and keeping the heat down on the inside. So that's something that we could definitely discuss. With the architect about that.
The new Methodist Hospital in all branches.
I'll do it. Yeah. But anyway, to me that's taking a 1969 building, and again, y'all know how I feel about the green roof. It's no secret. Hey, green roofs were in style at one time. I hate to tell you, they're not anymore. That gives you a professional, a modern look. I think that's a beautiful building. And to do that for $1.7 million, again, and we'll still have a little more work to do. There's no doubt about that. But doing that as opposed to building a new city hall that's 50,000 square feet. Just to remind everyone, last year some of the board members did suggest or ask if we really need 50,000 square feet. That's how many feet are in this building. And so what I did is went to every department head, had them reevaluate their operation, and let me know exactly how many square feet they needed. And with the exception of the space that we lease to the FBI, we use every foot of it. We need it. They all told me they need it. So if you go back, and I took that back to the architect and said, hey, look, give me some information I can update my board on. If you build a new 50,000 square foot building, you're looking at a minimum of $10 million today. So to me, being able to give us a nice building and also preserve a historic building in our city for $1.7 million to start, I think I recommend that tonight.
And this will bring our building up to code and everything.
There are still some things that we're going to have to work on. This is not going to solve every code problem in the beginning, but it will take care of a lot of it, and then we'll gradually, some of the projects, if you're building a new building and you're not housing your day-to-day operation, you can go ahead and start gutting some things and doing some things all at once. With us staying in the building, you're not going to want to do it all at one time anyway because of our day-to-day operation. So we'll eventually get to those. But again, I think doing this is going to take care of the majority of what it looks like, to the public. It's given a better appearance on the exterior. And then for most of the space that the public uses, it's all new stuff. So we can gradually address all the other code issues gradually. Okay, any other questions or comments about that? Hearing none, I'll move on. The other issue we talked about was the May Boulevard pedestrian bridge. And again, I'm going to remind everyone of what I said Thursday 2 weeks ago. I try to be transparent with everyone, not try to be, I am transparent. I'm probably the most transparent elected official in the history of DeSoto County. I have 3 social media pages, I have a cell phone, an office phone, I answer emails 24 hours a day. You can reach me on social media, Twitter, 2 Facebook pages, and if you message me, I'll respond to your message. I do that daily at all hours of the day. When we start addressing things with the city, I like to bring the Board of Aldermen into the discussion early. Sometimes that's misconceived, that I'm asking for you to make a vote before you have complete information. I think y'all all agree I've never ever asked anyone up here to vote on anything where they still had a question, and that applies to today. When I brought up the discussion about the May Boulevard pedestrian bridge, I told one of my first sentences was that we don't have complete information yet. I want to open the floor for discussion. Dan Cordell, Civil Link, is still answering some of my questions. All of you had some of the same questions that I had. Since that discussion, it was quoted back to me that someone liked the bridge, but that they didn't like my proposal of building a bridge that's not ADA compliant. And to me, that's the most ridiculous thing ever. I want to make sure I clarify that. Never ever would I propose building a bridge that's not ADA compliant, nor did I make a presentation where people that are in good physical condition that can run or walk over the bridge, go over the bridge, and people in a wheelchair or pushing a baby stroller have to go across Getwell. That's the most ridiculous thing that I've heard all year. I did not say that, nor did I propose that. So I want to make sure everybody understands that when I bring something to you guys, I'm bringing it to you to start the discussion. Y'all had questions, I still had questions, so we're still at that point. So we're still, Dan Cordell, Civil Link is still getting data on the cost of the bridge, and as soon as we have that, I'll bring that back before you. My update tonight is a suggestion that was initially made by Alderman Kelly. I know that Alderman Flores had some questions about it too, maybe all of us did. We approved a TIF for Silo Square. The May Boulevard pedestrian bridge would be tremendous in connecting the bridge with Snowgrove Park. Not only the park, but connecting to Loma all the way to Malone, because next year we'll have multi-use trails under construction throughout Snowgrove Park. So a bridge there would actually give pedestrian connectivity all the way from Central Park all the way to Malone at the tennis center. And that's a dramatic change in a short amount of time. Long way to tell you, obviously it helps Silo Square, there's no doubt. Silo Square, the developer is interested in the bridge. It would help with the marketability of that development as well. So the suggestion was made that we, instead of using cash on hand the city has, that maybe we go back and redo the TIF and include the bridge there. And so I've done a lot of research on that since we talked. By state law, we can definitely do that. There's no problem in doing it. The developer is for the bridge. However we get there, he's for the bridge. So anyway, just to let you know, that's an option. If you want to go back and look at adding the bridge in the TIF and saving our cash, we can definitely do that. Michael, would you flip to the next page? No, back up. You're right there. I'm sorry. Okay, this was the initial. Can you make that a little bit larger? Okay, that's good. So when we did when the board approved the TIF for Silo Square, it was a maximum of up to $5 billion. And just to let everyone in the audience know, just a 2-second education on TIFs. A TIF is a tax increment financing bond, but no money changes hands. There's no city money goes to anyone until something is built. So like if you take a raw piece of land that's worth $1,000 and the person who owns the land is paying taxes on $1,000, if they develop that land and make it worth $10,000, you've increased your taxable situation by $9 million, which adds a benefit to a governmental entity. So what a TIF is that that additional tax revenue that's generated, a portion of that, not all of it, a portion of that is given back to the private developer to incentivize them to do the development. Because if they don't do it, you're getting revenue on $1,000. If they do it, you're getting revenue on $10,000. So it's a financial benefit for the city in a way that you incentivize that decision. So that's, again, that's more than 2 seconds, but that's what a TIF is. So the city, earlier this year approved a TIF for Silo Square up to $5 million. So no money changes hands until the buildings are built, the infrastructure is put in, and then when we see the benefits of the increased revenue, we agreed to give a portion of that, which is $457,000 would go to pay a maximum bond up to $5 million on a 15-year term. So you can see that the revenue generated, the total revenue generated by this development was proposed to be $1.6 million. And we were going to use $457,000 of that to pay the TIF bond back. And that way it would allow up to $5 million for the developer. So if we go to the next page, I'm sorry. Okay, this is if you took the TIF bond from $5 million to $7 million. We expect that regardless of what we have to do to the bridge, as far as, ramps and elevator, whatever the decision is, we feel very comfortable with preliminary information. It's going to be under $2 million. We don't know what that exact number is yet. But if you just changed the TIF bond to a $7 million TIF instead of $5 on the same 15-year term, that makes the payment $640,000 instead of $457,000. So you can see this is another viable way to pay for the bridge if the city does not want to use cash to do it. And again, you can see the total revenue was 1.6 was the total that was available, generated by the taxes. So even if you did that, you're still at only 60% of the additional 60.7% of the additional revenue that's generated by the development. So both are safe ways. It's a very reasonable TIF. You're not maxing out the revenue that's created. So if the board decides to do that, I just wanted to show you the numbers. That is a feasible way to make it happen. Any questions or comments about the bridge? And before, again, there's no one's asking for any vote tonight. And again, the politicos in the city, I've already heard somebody say we're building a bridge to nowhere. Nobody's building a bridge to nowhere. There would not be a bridge built until the other buildings are built, okay? So we're not going to build a bridge tonight or in 2 weeks. This would be something that when the development occurs at Silo Square and the square goes up and the multi-use trail from there connects with Getwell, that would be the time that you start building the bridge. So we don't know exactly when that is. That could be next year. It could be 2 years from now. This is all a preliminary discussion to prepare for that. I can tell you that I promised everyone in the city that I would always tell you the truth. I would not ride the fence. And if you don't say anything about me when I'm gone, I hope that you'll say that I did that I always told you how I felt and what I thought was good for the city. This is a tremendous thing for the city. If the board agrees to do this, if I'm still lucky to be around in the city, come find me and tell me how great this is, because I'm telling you, this would be a grand thing that would promote economic development in our city and pay huge dividends for our city. We would be, as I mentioned last time, instead of us going to the Vanderbilt University website and looking at their bridge, people all over the country would say, hey, go check out this city in Mississippi. They built this cool bridge. It's with a silo concept. They got this mixed-use development, a town square, connects a great park that's still growing and adding new amenities. This thing is awesome. So that's my vision. I think it's a great thing. I don't like the price tag either. When I first started talking about a bridge, I did not have this amount in mind. But again, we're going to build it the right way and build it safe. But that's all I'll say about that. I'm a big advocate for the May Boulevard pedestrian bridge. Any other comments, questions, or discussion?
I agree.
Okay, we'll move on. That is all I have on the mayor's report. Next is citizens' agenda. We did not have anyone that called to speak, but it is our revised policy that if you want to speak, the floor is open. If anyone would like to speak in the audience, please come forward. Okay, I don't see anyone this evening. We'll move on to the personnel docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the personnel documents presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is the city attorney's legal update.
Just have two quick technical things. First, we approved the donations for the, back in September under the new budget, for the historic DeSoto Foundation. We also need to cite our local and private, chapter 938, HB 1618, as the authority to contribute to that. It was neglected to put in the resolution, so tonight I'll add that to the minutes for the historic DeSoto Foundation.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
And next, authorize me to sign JAG certification for the JAG grant for the following, have the authority to sign the certifications for the city attorney.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on our agenda is our claims docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the claims docket in the amount of $2,964,890.34, including donations.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
There's a second.
There's a second.
Okay, on docket 2, is there a motion for docket 2?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve docket number 2 in the amount of $270,518.03.
Okay,
Second.
on docket 2, we have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Okay, next is to determine the need for executive session. We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Gallagher. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The need this evening is economic development with industry, potential industry and business locating to the city, and also claims against city infrastructure. Is there a motion to declare executive session?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Gallagher. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter executive session.